You're listening to Storytime Audio, where we bring you captivating tales that touch the heart and stir the soul. In today's episode, we present Cheating Wife, the long road from heartbreak to healing and new beginnings. This poignant narrative takes us through the life of Ryan, an aircraft mechanic, whose world is turned upside down by the infidelity of his wife, Stephanie. As Ryan confronts the pain of betrayal and struggles to rebuild his life, he embarks on a journey of self-discovery and resilience. The story chronicles his path from heartbreak to healing, leading to a new chapter filled with hope and love when he meets Natalie. Through moments of sorrow, introspection, and ultimate redemption, Ryan's story is a powerful reminder of the strength within us all to overcome adversity. Join us as we dive into this emotional roller coaster, exploring themes of trust, forgiveness, and the beauty of second chances. Put on your headphones, sit back, and let yourself be drawn into Ryan's transformative journey. Let's begin. I was sitting at the kitchen table, lost in thought, when Stephanie returned from the grocery store. She paused as she saw the notebook on the table in front of me and a pen in my hand. "What are you doing, Ryan?" she asked, curiosity evident in her tone. "I decided to accept your challenge," I replied, not looking up. She frowned slightly. "What challenge? Do you remember last week when we read those stories on that website? I commented on how bad some of them were and said even I could have done something better. You said I couldn't, that I lacked a creative touch." She shrugged, putting the bags down on the counter. "I probably said that on the spur of the moment, but my comment was based on what I know about your grades in school. You always got C's and D's on your assignments in classes that required written reports. Well, I think I can do better now." Stephanie sighed. "Come on, help me with the groceries." I helped her carry the bags and put away the groceries. Once that was done, I returned to the table and resumed writing. As she prepared dinner, she glanced over at me several times. "What are you writing about?" she finally asked. "I won't say anything. I'll let you read it when I'm done, and you can critique it before I publish it on the site." She laughed. "Good luck with that." Despite her skepticism, I felt determined. I might not have excelled in writing back in college, but I believed I could do better now. College had been a struggle. My parents had more or less blackmailed me into getting a degree in business management before they would allow me to work full-time in the family business. I had worked there part-time since I was 13 and wanted to continue after high school, but my dad insisted on the degree first. So, I begrudgingly attended college, did the bare minimum to pass, and earned my degree. After graduating, I started working in the family business full-time, but my passion had always been mechanics. Eventually, I transitioned to working as an aircraft mechanic for a major airline, which I loved. I looked at my notebook and began again, determined to prove Stephanie wrong. "My name is Ryan Parker. I'm an aircraft mechanic for a major airline, and I'm married to Stephanie Parker. I call her Steph. She's an office manager at an insurance company. Steph and I have been together for a little over 11 years and married for 9 of them. We met in our second year of college, and for me, it was love at first sight. For Steph, it took her 3 months to agree to a date." As I wrote, memories flooded back. Our first date had been magical. We went to a small cafe in Greenwood, talked for hours, and ended the night with a walk in the park. Our relationship quickly deepened, and by our 7th date, we made love for the first time. After that, we became a regular couple, spending most of our time together. During the summer of 2016, I had a job with my Uncle Dave, who owned a landscaping company. I worked long hours, usually 10 to 12 hours a day from Monday to Saturday, leaving little time to see Steph during the week. After 3 weeks of only seeing each other on Sundays, Steph started dating other guys. When I complained, she argued that she needed companionship and that I should understand. In my blind love, I chose to tolerate it rather than risk losing her completely. I didn't realize at the time how this tolerance would set the stage for future heartbreaks. I showed her that from my point of view, she could get away with it, and I would let her. That was my first mistake. 3 weeks passed, and on a Friday in July, a heavy storm caused me to finish work early. I called Steph, hoping we could spend the evening together. To my dismay, she informed me she already had a date. Frustrated, I hung up and called my friends to see if there were any plans. Chris Wilson was having a party at his house, and I decided to go. When I arrived at the party, I saw Steph in the arms of another man, Brian. They were hugging and then kissing passionately. My heart sank as I watched them move to the dance floor, where they danced closely, her arms around his neck, his hands on her waist. It was clear they were more than just friends. When Steph saw me, she whispered something to Brian and started walking toward me. I turned around and left the party without saying a word. The next day, I threw myself into work, trying to forget what I had seen. I worked a 12-hour shift and avoided calling Steph, knowing she would be with someone else. Normally, I would call her on Sunday around 10 a.m. to make plans for the afternoon and evening, but I didn't call her that Sunday. The thought of her being intimate with someone else was too much to bear. On Monday, July 25, 2016, I worked another 12-hour shift. I didn't get to Steph's house until a little after 8 p.m. Her mom opened the door and told me Steph was waiting for me in the backyard. When I stepped outside, I heard her on the phone. "I like what we did on Friday. I can't wait to see you on Tuesday," she said. "It's time for me to go. He'll be here soon. Goodbye." I stepped back inside and then opened the backyard door loudly. Steph turned around, startled to see me. I didn't let on that I had heard anything. "What's wrong, Ryan?" she asked. I looked at her, trying to control my anger. "Did you accept dates when you didn't have time for me?" She frowned. "What do you mean? I thought these dates were just casual outings, like going to the movies or hanging out with friends. But what I saw at Chris's party was something else. The way you kissed Brian and let him touch you. It's not how I expected my girlfriend to behave." She looked shocked. "Ryan, it's not what you think. I care about you. I don't believe you, Steph. I think it's best if we take a break. I need some time to think." I got up and left her standing there, a look of shock on her face. As I drove away, I felt a mixture of anger and sadness. Later, I got tested for STDs, fearing the worst. Thankfully, the results came back negative, but I never told Steph about it. For the next week, we avoided each other. On Thursday, while having lunch in the student cafeteria, Steph came to my table and sat down. "You didn't call me on Sunday," she said, her voice tinged with hurt. "There was no need to," I replied coldly. "I saw what you did at Chris's party. How can I trust you now? You're being unfair, Ryan. I need to have a life too. You're always working. Maybe, but I thought we had something special. Now I'm not so sure. Ryan, we need to talk. Please, come see me when you're free. Promise me." "Alright, I'll come see you when I'm free." Monday, August 1, 2016, was another long workday, and I didn't get to Steph's house until after 8 p.m. Her mom let me in, and I found Steph in the backyard, looking nervous. "I've been thinking," I began. "If you can't handle my work schedule now, how will you handle it when I'm working nights and weekends in the future?" "I'll adjust, Ryan. We'll make it work." "I hope so, Steph. But for now, I need some time to figure things out." We talked for a while longer, and in the end, she promised to limit her outings to Fridays and Saturdays and to always make sure she was home before I got back. I agreed, but my trust in her was shattered. After our agreement, things seemed to get better for a while. Stephanie, true to her word, limited her outings to Fridays and Saturdays. She always made sure to be home before I returned from work. However, the cracks in our relationship were still there, barely visible but ever present. The summer job with Uncle Dave ended in late autumn of 2016, and I went back to my regular shifts at the airline. This change allowed me to spend more time with Stephanie, and we tried to mend our relationship. We attended barbecues and picnics with our neighbors, hosted a few get-togethers at our house, and even took a short vacation to the mountains. But no matter how much effort we put into rebuilding, I couldn't shake the feeling of distrust that had settled in my heart. 2 years passed, and by the beginning of 2018, our lives had settled into a comfortable routine. We had made friends with our neighbors and often spent weekends together, enjoying barbecues and gatherings. Our new hot tub became a popular feature, and we frequently had company over. Although things seemed to be back on track, the underlying tension remained. One Friday night in March 2018, Stephanie and I had a rare evening off together. We decided to stay in, cook dinner, and watch a movie. As we sat down to eat, Stephanie's phone buzzed with a message. She glanced at it and quickly put it face down on the table. I pretended not to notice, but my curiosity was piqued. "Who's that?" I asked casually. "Oh, just Sarah from work," she replied, a bit too quickly. I nodded, not wanting to push the issue, but my mind was racing. After dinner, we settled on the couch to watch a movie. Stephanie seemed distracted, checking her phone frequently. Halfway through the movie, she excused herself to go to the bathroom, taking her phone with her. My suspicions grew. The next day, I decided to investigate. While Stephanie was in the shower, I took her phone and quickly scrolled through her messages. My heart pounded as I found a conversation with someone named Brian. The messages were flirty and suggestive, clearly indicating a level of intimacy beyond friendship. I felt a wave of anger and betrayal wash over me. When Stephanie came out of the shower, I confronted her. "Who's Brian?" I asked, holding up her phone. Her face went pale. "He's just a friend from work," she stammered. "These messages don't look like they're from just a friend," I retorted, my voice shaking with anger. Stephanie sat down, tears welling up in her eyes. "Ryan, it's not what you think. We haven't done anything. It's just, we've been talking." I felt lonely. Lonely? I exploded. "I've been trying to make this work, Steph. I've been here, doing everything I can to rebuild our relationship, and you're telling me you're lonely?" "I'm sorry, Ryan," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. "I didn't mean for it to get this far. It just happened." I stood there, feeling a mix of anger, sadness, and betrayal. "We need to figure this out, Steph. This can't continue." We spent the next few weeks in a tense limbo. I tried to focus on work and avoid thinking about Brian. Stephanie promised to cut off contact with him, but the damage was already done. The trust between us was shattered, and I couldn't ignore the nagging feeling that things would never be the same. One evening in April 2018, I came home early from work to find Stephanie on the phone again. She quickly ended the call when she saw me and tried to act normal, but I could sense the tension. Later that night, as we lay in bed, I couldn't hold back any longer. "Steph, we need to talk," I said, staring at the ceiling. She turned to face me, her eyes filled with worry. "What is it, Ryan? I can't keep living like this," I began. "I can't keep pretending everything is okay when it's not. I need to know if you're still in contact with Brian." She hesitated for a moment before nodding. "I am, but only as friends. I promise, Ryan." I sighed, feeling the weight of her words. "I don't know if I can believe that. I don't know if I can trust you anymore." "Ryan, please," she pleaded. "I love you. I want to make this work." "I love you too, Steph," I replied, my voice cracking. "But love isn't enough if there's no trust. We need to rebuild that trust, or this marriage won't survive." We decided to seek couples counseling, hoping it would help us navigate the turbulent waters of our relationship. The sessions were intense and emotionally draining, but they forced us to confront our issues head-on. We talked about our feelings, our fears, and our hopes for the future. Slowly, we began to make progress. However, in the back of my mind, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was still off. Stephanie seemed genuinely committed to making things work, but her occasional secretive behavior kept me on edge. I decided to keep an eye on her, hoping to catch any signs of infidelity. In July 2018, I finally got my answer. I came home early from work one day and found Stephanie's car parked in the driveway. I walked in quietly, not wanting to alert her to my presence. As I approached the living room, I heard muffled voices. My heart raced as I recognized Brian's voice. I crept closer and peeked around the corner. There, on the couch, were Stephanie and Brian, locked in a passionate kiss. My worst fears were confirmed. They broke apart suddenly when they heard me, their faces a mix of shock and guilt. "Ryan," Stephanie gasped, scrambling to her feet. "This isn't what it looks like." "Save it," I spat, my voice cold and hard. "I knew it. I knew you were still seeing him." Brian stood up, looking uncomfortable. "I should go," he mumbled, making his way to the door. "Yeah, you should," I replied, my eyes never leaving Stephanie's. Once Brian was gone, Stephanie tried to explain, but I couldn't listen. "Ryan, please," she begged. "It's not serious. It was just a moment of weakness." "A moment of weakness?" I echoed, my anger boiling over. "How many moments of weakness have there been, Steph? How many times have you lied to me?" Tears streamed down her face as she tried to reach for me. "Ryan, I'm sorry. I don't know why I did it. I love you, and I don't want to lose you." "You already lost me, Steph," I said quietly. "You lost me the moment you chose to betray my trust." I walked out of the house, leaving her standing there in tears. As I drove away, I felt a sense of relief mixed with overwhelming sadness. I knew our marriage was over, and there was no turning back. The next day, I contacted attorney James and started the divorce proceedings. Stephanie was devastated, but she knew she had brought this on herself. The divorce process was long and painful, but it was necessary. By the end of 2018, our marriage was officially over. The beginning of 2019 was a time of change and reflection. The divorce from Stephanie had left a gaping hole in my life, one filled with anger, betrayal, and sadness. I threw myself into my work, spending long hours at the airline to distract myself from the pain. Friends and family offered their support, but I often found solace in solitude. In March 2019, I decided to move to a new apartment on the other side of Greenwood, seeking a fresh start. The new place was smaller but cozy, with a view of a nearby park. It was a chance to rebuild my life, piece by piece. One Friday evening, as I was unpacking the last of my boxes, I received a text message from Chris Wilson. He was hosting another party and wanted to know if I could make it. Reluctantly, I agreed. I needed to re-enter the social scene and start living my life again. When I arrived at Chris's house, I was greeted with warm smiles and friendly faces. It felt good to be surrounded by people who cared. As the night wore on, I found myself engaged in conversations, laughing, and almost forgetting the pain that had consumed me for the past year. At one point, I stepped outside to get some fresh air. The backyard was beautifully decorated with string lights and a small bonfire crackling in the center. I stood there, staring into the flames, lost in thought. "Ryan, hey," a familiar voice called out. I turned to see Sarah, one of Stephanie's former coworkers, approaching me. "Sarah, hi," I replied, forcing a smile. "How have you been?" "I'm good, thanks. I heard about you and Steph." "I'm really sorry." "Thanks," I said, not wanting to delve into the past. We chatted for a while, and Sarah mentioned she had seen Stephanie recently. "She's been pretty down since the divorce," Sarah said. "I think she regrets everything." I nodded, feeling a mix of emotions. "It's too late for regrets." Sarah looked at me sympathetically. "I know, but sometimes people don't realize what they have until it's gone." I thanked her for the conversation and excused myself, needing some time alone to process my thoughts. As I walked back inside, I couldn't help but wonder if Stephanie truly regretted her actions. But it didn't matter anymore. I was moving on, and there was no room for her in my new life. The next few months were a period of self-discovery. I took up new hobbies like hiking and photography, and reconnected with old friends. Slowly, I began to feel like myself again. In July 2019, I decided to take a solo trip to the mountains. The fresh air and serene landscapes were a welcome escape from the hustle and bustle of Greenwood. I spent my days hiking and capturing the beauty of nature through my camera lens. One evening, as I sat by a campfire, I reflected on my journey. The pain of the past had lessened, replaced by a sense of peace and acceptance. I realized that the divorce, while painful, had been a necessary step in reclaiming my life. When I returned to Greenwood, I felt renewed. I continued to focus on my work and hobbies, and my social life flourished. I met new people, formed new friendships, and even went on a few dates. The future felt bright and full of possibilities. However, in November 2019, life threw me another curveball. I received a call from attorney James, informing me that Stephanie had been in an accident. She was in the hospital and had listed me as her emergency contact. Despite everything that had happened, I couldn't ignore the call for help. I rushed to the hospital, my heart pounding with worry. When I arrived, I found Stephanie in a hospital bed, her face pale and covered in bruises. "Ryan," she whispered, tears filling her eyes. "Stephanie," I replied, my voice trembling. "What happened?" "I was in a car accident," she said weakly. I didn't know who else to call. I sat by her side, holding her hand. Despite the pain she had caused me, seeing her in this state broke my heart. "It's okay, Steph. I'm here." Over the next few days, I visited Stephanie regularly, helping her through her recovery. She apologized profusely for everything that had happened, expressing deep regret for her actions. I listened, but remained guarded, not wanting to get hurt again. As she recovered, Stephanie and I had many long conversations. She opened up about her feelings of loneliness and insecurity, explaining that they had driven her to seek comfort elsewhere. She admitted that she had made terrible mistakes and that she had lost sight of what truly mattered. While I couldn't fully forgive her, I began to understand the reasons behind her actions. We both agreed that our relationship was over, but we also recognized the need to find closure and move forward. By January 2020, Stephanie had made a full recovery. She thanked me for my support and we parted ways, this time for good. The experience had been emotionally draining, but it also provided a sense of closure that I had long sought. With the past finally behind me, I looked to the future with hope. I continued to build my new life, focusing on my career and personal growth. The lessons I had learned from my marriage and divorce shaped me into a stronger, wiser person. As 2020 progressed, I immersed myself in my work and hobbies, finding solace in the routine. My photography skills improved, and I began sharing my work online, gaining a modest following. The sense of accomplishment and the positive feedback from my audience provided a much-needed boost to my self-esteem. One sunny afternoon in April, while I was hiking in the nearby forest, I encountered a woman named Natalie. She was an avid hiker and photographer, much like myself. We struck up a conversation, exchanging tips and stories about our favorite trails and photography techniques. There was an instant connection between us, a shared passion that felt refreshing and exciting. Natalie and I started meeting regularly for hikes and photography sessions. Our friendship blossomed quickly, and we found ourselves spending more and more time together. She was kind, intelligent, and had a zest for life that was contagious. With her, I felt a sense of ease and happiness that I hadn't experienced in a long time. One evening in June, after a long day of hiking, we sat by the lake, watching the sunset. The sky was painted with hues of orange and pink, and the water reflected the colors beautifully. It was a perfect moment, and I felt a surge of gratitude for having Natalie in my life. "Ryan," she said softly, breaking the comfortable silence. "I've really enjoyed spending time with you. You make me feel alive." I smiled, turning to look at her. "I feel the same way, Natalie. You've brought a lot of joy into my life." We sat there for a while, savoring the moment. Eventually, I gathered the courage to ask her out on a proper date. She agreed, and we began a new chapter in our relationship, transitioning from friends to something more. Our first date was simple but perfect. We went to a cozy little restaurant in Greenwood, followed by a walk in the park where we had first met. The night was filled with laughter and deep conversations, and by the end of it, I knew I wanted to be with Natalie. As our relationship deepened, I shared my past with her, including the painful experiences with Stephanie. Natalie listened with empathy and understanding, offering me comfort and support. She never judged me for my mistakes or my lingering scars. Instead, she helped me heal, one day at a time. In August 2020, I took Natalie to meet my family. They welcomed her with open arms, grateful to see me happy again. My parents, who had been worried about me since the divorce, were relieved to see the positive impact Natalie had on my life. We continued to explore our shared interests, traveling to different hiking trails and photographing breathtaking landscapes. Our bond grew stronger with each adventure, and I felt a renewed sense of purpose and happiness. However, in October 2020, an unexpected challenge arose. My airline announced a series of layoffs due to the economic impact of the pandemic. Despite my seniority, I found myself among those who were let go. The news hit me hard, and I struggled with feelings of uncertainty and fear about the future. Natalie stood by me during this difficult time, offering unwavering support and encouragement. "Ryan, this is just a setback," she said, holding my hand. "You're talented and hardworking. You'll find something even better." Her faith in me gave me the strength to keep going. I began applying for new jobs, exploring opportunities that aligned with my skills and interests. Meanwhile, I also focused on expanding my photography business, taking on freelance projects and selling prints online. In December 2020, I received a job offer from a small, up-and-coming airline based in a neighboring city. The position was similar to my previous job but with more opportunities for growth and advancement. Excited and relieved, I accepted the offer and began preparing for the move. Natalie supported my decision, even though it meant we would have to adjust to a long-distance relationship for a while. "We'll make it work," she assured me. "Our connection is strong enough to handle this." I started my new job in January 2021, and the transition went smoothly. The new work environment was positive and supportive, and I quickly adapted to my new role. Although I missed being close to Natalie, we made time to visit each other regularly, and our bond remained strong. In April 2021, I surprised Natalie with a weekend getaway to a picturesque cabin in the mountains. It was a perfect escape from our busy lives, and we spent the days hiking and exploring, and the nights cuddled up by the fireplace, talking about our dreams and future. On the last night of our trip, as we sat under a sky full of stars, I took a deep breath and gathered my courage. "Natalie, I love you," I said, my voice trembling with emotion. "You've brought so much happiness and light into my life. I can't imagine my future without you." She looked at me, her eyes shining with tears. "I love you too, Ryan. You've made me feel so special and loved." I reached into my pocket and pulled out a small box. "Natalie, will you marry me?" Her eyes widened in surprise, and she gasped, "Yes, Ryan, of course, I will." I slipped the ring onto her finger, and we embraced, overwhelmed with joy and love. The stars seemed to shine even brighter that night, a perfect backdrop to the beginning of our new journey together. As we drove back to Greenwood, we talked excitedly about our future plans. We decided to find a place together in the city where I worked, so we could start our married life without the challenges of a long-distance relationship. In June 2021, we moved into a charming apartment in the city, close to my job and with easy access to nature trails for our hiking adventures. We spent the summer planning our wedding, which we decided to hold in October, a year after the airline layoff that had initially brought uncertainty into my life. Our wedding day was a beautiful, intimate affair, surrounded by close family and friends. The ceremony was held outdoors in a scenic park, with the autumn leaves creating a stunning backdrop. As we exchanged vows, I felt a deep sense of gratitude for the journey that had brought us to this moment. After the wedding, we embarked on a honeymoon adventure, traveling to various national parks and capturing the beauty of nature through our lenses. It was the perfect way to start our married life, and we returned home feeling more connected and in love than ever. As we settled into our new life together, I reflected on the twists and turns that had led me here. The pain of my past had been a difficult but necessary part of my journey. It had taught me valuable lessons about trust, forgiveness, and resilience. With Natalie by my side, I felt ready to face whatever challenges the future might bring. We continued to build our life together, balancing work, hobbies, and time with loved ones. Our photography business grew, and we often collaborated on projects, blending our talents and passions. In February 2022, we received some unexpected but joyous news. Natalie was pregnant. The news filled our hearts with excitement and anticipation for the new chapter that awaited us. The months that followed were a whirlwind of preparations and emotions. We transformed one of the bedrooms in our apartment into a nursery, attended prenatal classes, and readied ourselves for the arrival of our baby. In October 2022, our daughter, Emily, was born. Holding her for the first time was a moment of pure, indescribable joy. As I looked at her tiny face, I felt a profound sense of love and responsibility. Parenthood brought its own set of challenges, but Natalie and I faced them together, drawing strength from our love and partnership. Watching Emily grow and develop her own unique personality was a source of endless wonder and happiness. As 2023 unfolded, our lives were filled with the everyday joys and trials of raising a child. We navigated sleepless nights, first steps, and countless milestones, cherishing every moment. One sunny afternoon in April 2023, as I played with Emily in the park, I reflected on how far I had come. The pain of the past felt like a distant memory, overshadowed by the immense love and fulfillment I found in my new life. Natalie joined us, her smile radiant as she watched Emily toddle towards her. "We've built a beautiful life together, haven't we?" she said, her voice filled with warmth. I nodded, feeling a deep sense of contentment. "Yes, we have, and it's only going to get better." As we walked home, hand in hand, with Emily giggling in her stroller, I knew that no matter what the future held, we would face it together, as a family. The years following Emily's birth were filled with joy, laughter, and inevitable challenges. Parenthood brought its own set of trials, but it also deepened the bond between Natalie and me. We navigated the sleepless nights, the teething pains, and the joyous milestones together, each moment strengthening our love and commitment to one another. In the spring of 2023, our lives took another turn. My new airline company faced financial difficulties, and rumors of potential layoffs started circulating. The stress of possibly losing my job again weighed heavily on me, but I didn't want to worry Natalie, so I kept most of my concerns to myself. One evening, as I was putting Emily to bed, Natalie noticed my distraction. After Emily fell asleep, she gently pulled me aside. "Ryan, you've been distant lately. Is everything okay?" I sighed, knowing I couldn't keep my worries from her any longer. There's talk of layoffs at work. I might lose my job again. Natalie looked at me with concern but also with determination. We'll get through this, Ryan. We've faced challenges before, and we've always come out stronger. We'll figure it out together. Her unwavering support gave me the strength to stay hopeful. I started looking for alternative job opportunities, all while continuing to work diligently at my current job. The uncertainty was stressful, but having Natalie by my side made it bearable. In June 2023, the layoffs were officially announced, and I was among those let go. The news hit hard, but Natalie remained a pillar of strength. "This is just a setback," she said firmly. "We'll find a way." I threw myself into job hunting, applying for positions in and around Greenwood. Meanwhile, Natalie took on more responsibilities with our photography business, which had been steadily growing. Her dedication and optimism were contagious, and I felt a renewed sense of determination. One afternoon in July 2023, as I was reviewing my resume, I received a call from an old friend, Mark, who worked at a renowned aircraft maintenance company. He had heard about my situation and offered to help. "We have an opening here that I think would be perfect for you," he said. "Why don't you come in for an interview?" The interview went well, and by the end of the month, I was offered the job. It was a significant step up from my previous positions, both in terms of responsibility and pay. The new job was demanding, but I welcomed the challenge and the stability it provided for my family. With my new job secure, we could finally breathe a little easier. Natalie and I decided to take a short family vacation to celebrate. We chose a cozy cabin by a lake, a perfect getaway to relax and recharge. The vacation was a much-needed escape from the stress of the past few months. We spent our days hiking, swimming, and playing with Emily. The evenings were filled with laughter and stories around the campfire. It was a reminder of the simple joys in life and the importance of family. As the sun set on our last evening by the lake, Natalie and I sat on the porch, watching Emily chase fireflies. "We've come a long way, haven't we?" Natalie said, resting her head on my shoulder. I nodded, feeling a deep sense of gratitude. "We have, and I'm so thankful to have you by my side through it all." The next few years were a period of growth and stability. My new job provided financial security, and our photography business continued to thrive. Natalie and I balanced our careers and family life, ensuring we made time for each other and for Emily. In the spring of 2024, we received another piece of joyful news. Natalie was pregnant again. The news filled our hearts with excitement and anticipation for the new addition to our family. We began preparing Emily for the arrival of her sibling, and she eagerly embraced the role of the big sister. The pregnancy went smoothly, and in March 2024, we welcomed our son, Ethan, into the world. Holding him for the first time brought back memories of Emily's birth, and the overwhelming love I felt for my children was indescribable. Parenting two young children was challenging, but Natalie and I faced it together, just as we always had. Our home was filled with the sounds of laughter, occasional cries, and the pitter-patter of tiny feet. The chaos was beautiful, and our hearts were full. As the years passed, our family grew closer, and our bond strengthened. We made it a priority to spend quality time together, whether it was family outings, game nights, or simply enjoying each other's company at home. In the summer of 2024, we decided to take a family trip to the mountains. It was the same place where Natalie and I had first fallen in love, and it held a special place in our hearts. The trip was a beautiful blend of nostalgia and new memories. We hiked the familiar trails, capturing moments with our cameras, and shared stories with Emily and Ethan about our adventures. One evening, as we sat around the campfire, Emily asked, "Mom, Dad, how did you two meet?" Natalie smiled, glancing at me before turning to our daughter. "It was a long time ago, on a trail just like this one. Your dad and I shared a love for hiking and photography, and we became friends. Over time, we realized that we loved each other." Emily listened intently, her eyes wide with curiosity. "And then you got married and had us?" "That's right," I said, pulling her close. "We built a beautiful life together, filled with love and adventure." As the fire crackled and the stars twinkled above, I felt a deep sense of fulfillment. The journey had been long and winding, filled with both heartache and joy. But in that moment, surrounded by my family, I knew that every step had been worth it. Life continued to present its challenges, but with Natalie and our children by my side, I felt ready to face whatever came our way. The lessons of the past had shaped us, making us stronger and more resilient. And as we look to the future, we did so with hope and love, knowing that together, we could overcome anything. Thank you for listening to Storytime Audio. We hope you were moved by Cheating Wife, the long road from heartbreak to healing and new beginnings. Ryan's journey from betrayal to redemption reminds us that even in the darkest moments, there is always a chance for a new beginning. Through his trials and tribulations, Ryan found strength he never knew he had, discovering that healing is possible and love can be found anew. His story is a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the power of forgiveness. As we conclude today's episode, we encourage you to reflect on the themes of trust, redemption, and second chances. Life's challenges can be overwhelming, but they also present opportunities for growth and renewal. Thank you for joining us on this emotional journey. If you enjoyed this story, please subscribe to Storytime Audio for more tales that touch the heart and inspire the soul. Until next time, keep listening, keep believing, and keep finding the beauty in new beginnings.